Now, to help us unpack the latest developments, we're joined by new Central Correspondent Bettina Nwelih, who has been following and reporting on the story, and of course, Public Affairs Analyst Professor Simeon Nnah. Bettina and Professor Simon, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. Bettina, let me start with you. Just take us through it. We're smiling because anytime we hear this fake agency, there's something that is bubbling
Queen,
from inside us.
We have to ask Bettina, is our Abuja office real?
Yes. Are we AI?
We have to check anything coming from Abuja at this point.
So Bettina, please take us through the findings that you found in terms of the ICP investigation.
Okay, so a few days ago, if you remember correctly, the president ordered a forensic investigation into the ICPC scam. And during the course of the investigation, they have come to realize that there is another scam agency that also has an office allegedly in the building of the Secretary General of the Federation. The name of the person who is leading this scam, as they said, is a certain George Buchi Nwabueze. Now, this person has been using different names according to the brief that we're given yesterday. He uses Prince Buchi Nwabueze, he uses Nwabueze, George Nwabueze. So it's very obvious that when you keep changing multiple personalities, especially in line with the names that you have and you are given to different authorities, that something is not clear and something is not straight. We're also told that 3 permanent secretaries were suspended in relation to the case. We do not know what their direct connection to the case is, but I mean, investigation is still ongoing. So yesterday's briefing was basically an update or an FYI, if you could call it, for your information. But we were not given the privilege to ask questions as much as we had so many burning questions that we wanted to ask in relation to the case as to how it relates with the first scam case that is ongoing, and how long it has lasted within the system, how it was created, when it was created. We do not know all of those details, but we're still following up with the case for now.
Well, thank you so much, Bettina. Professor Simeon Nnah, thank you for joining us. Now we've heard about another alleged fake agency. What's your thought on this and how Nigeria is 2026?
Good morning. My name is Simeon, not Simon. Simeon Nnah. Thank you. Well, we've said it from day one when the first fake agency was discovered, and the prince with particular concern, as your station called him yesterday, was in another program, was not allowed to ventilate his own part of the story. He mentioned names, and nobody verified those names. He brought documents, about 20-something documents, to the House of Reps. And the House of Reps just dismissed those documents as fake. The question some of us are asking, was there any forensic analysis of those documents? I think my answer is no. The last time I checked, we don't have forensic experts at the National Assembly. So for them to just dismiss that with a wave of the hand is something that beats my imagination. Recall that I had earlier said in one of the programs that if we continue that way, we might even go ahead to have fake ministries, just for us to discover now that we are still talking about another 2 fake agencies. You see, we have not gotten to the bottom of this. And I don't like people cracking the issue, because that's what we're doing here. Let's call a spade a spade. Call these people out. Let's come out and give us the information. How did they get about these documents? The former man told the world through one of the national televisions that there was a certain Tanimola that he was operating through, and that the monies were given to that Tanimola, and Tanimola delivered. And each time he had any case, like when he wanted to open an account, it was Tanimola that resolved it, and they gave me a code, and he opened the account in Central Bank. Can you imagine that? When he needed an office, it was the same Tanimola. When EFCC was asking for 300 million for the office to be paid to a central bank account, it was the Tanimola that resolved it. And he's telling us that the Tanimola was mysteriously killed. They said there was an infernal in the hospital, in the hotel where he was staying, and he was roasted alive. And that hotel has been bulldozed. And nobody is talking about all this. You are just trying to gaslight everybody. And now, look at what your correspondent said. They just gave them an update yesterday, and they had the opportunity to ask questions. They didn't allow them to ask any questions. How can we continue like this? Are you aware that the presidency has just signed a document that you cannot take anybody that false certificates to the court during the elections? The Electoral Act has just been signed. So what are we saying? When judgment is not speedily executed, the heart of men is said to do evil. When you don't punish people for offenses they have committed, you are encouraging others to go into it. Now, if we continue this way, I bet you, before you know it, we'll start having fake ministries.
Professor Nnah, very interesting input there. You talked about verification. Now, simple question. What must one have to be able to authentically identify themselves as working inside of the presidency, or at least for the federal government of Nigeria? What verification process must there be? I'm asking this question because I have in mind, I'm thinking about the international interactions that some of these agencies have for the presidency. So starting locally, what verification process exists for one to identify themselves as a real agency, first off?
First off, before you call yourself a real agency or a DG or the MD of an agency, your letter of appointment must come from the secretary of the federation. No other person is authorized to give letter of appointment to a DG or to an MD of an organization. But in the case of the prince of particular concern, his letter of appointment was gotten from the chief of staff. So every other person should have known that that was not the real letter. I listened to him. I mean the prince of particular concern, Prince Adeniji Matthew, on one particular television station. And he said that, because the journalist, Okumbalaye, let me mention his name, asked him a pointed question. Didn't you think that that agency was a fake one, that the appointment they gave to you was a fake one, since it was not coming from the Secretary of Government? He said he thought initially that it was a fake one, but when everything he needed, like the time he needed to open an account in Central Bank, the Tanimola of a man gave him a code and he used it and the account was open. When he needed an office, the Tanimola still linked up to the Secretary of Government, who allegedly asked EFCC to take him round, let him pick an office. And he went round and picked an office. So what are we saying? At the end of the day, when they discovered that the letter of appointment did not come from the right source, why were they still operating with him? He got everything. He got official plate numbers. He got official office. What else do you want? He got a budget. And the National Assembly that's now speaking in tongues passed a budget from a fake agency.
Professor Nnah.
No.
Professor
That's
Nnah.
way too much.
Professor Nnah, just before you go too far, you did say that they must have verification from the Secretary of the Federation.
Yes.
From the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Well, now, this new fake agency, it's got a very long name, I'm still trying to memorize it, was operating from the OSGF. So what do we say about that?
These are the issues. That's why we are saying that if somebody is dancing to a drum, somebody is beating that drum. Why are you now, muzzling the people that are dancing to a drum, and you're not asking for the people that are beating the drum? These are the issues. No, you see, my worry is that immediately the news broke, the presidency exonerated everybody and said it is only the prince of particular concern that is that have committed offense. In this one now, you will see that they will exonerate everybody. It is only the Nwabueze of a gang that will be the culprit. Things don't work that way. A single individual cannot operate that way, get an office in the secretariat, get an office in the office of the SGOs, get an account in CBN. Do you know what it takes to get a personal account? Not to talk of getting an account in CBN. Do you know what it takes to get a plate number, a federal plate number? Recall that the federal plate numbers today is FG number this for your agency, is particular designed for your agency. He got all those for the fourth one. The second one now we are not going to details. He may have followed the same route.
Well,
you see, so they should tell us what is going on. They are keeping Nigerians in the dark.
Well,
the presidency and the National Assembly should tell Nigerians what is going on.
Well, while you mentioned that they should tell Nigerians what is going on, what do you think accountability will look like in this situation? Because it is the government that is involved in this alleged fake agency. How are we going to hold them accountable?
Are you talking of accountability when they started with a fraudulent act? Accountability is out of the question because the budget that was planned, how did they? Are you aware that this guy even got a waiver to employ 300 people? Nobody's interrogating these issues. So this other person, like I said, the latest one now, we have not gotten details because they just came and gave a press briefing, and they didn't allow the press to ask pertinent questions that would have led us to know exactly how far they have gone so far. But the frantic way they are defending the presidency and the agents around the presidency gets some of us worried. See, if you have followed, because I followed that case trending to bumper, and when the National Assembly were shaving the man's head behind him. In my place, you don't shave a man's head behind him. They shaved his head behind him. They say the document is submitted were fake. But they were trying to indict the Provost Marshal of Road Safety that he didn't do the due diligence. Why did he give plate number? You see, we are leaving the substance and we are fighting minor things.
Indeed, Professor Nnah. Indeed, Professor Nnah. Bettina, let's come back to you. Bettina, I hope you saw the monologue this morning. It was all about this new fake agency. And I asked a very interesting question there. I asked, for how long have these been going on? If this guy could employ 300 people, then that means he must have paid salaries. These monies were coming from the monies that Nigerian people pay taxes with. It's our money. How long, how big an organization was it? How much have we lost to these 4 fake agencies that we have noticed now, and how many more fake agencies are there? So you've been following the story, and I'm wondering if you've asked these questions to maybe members of the stakeholders, those who are involved in the investigation. What have you found out about how long these agencies might have been and how much Nigerians might have lost to them?
Oh, well, again, Marino, like I said, these are the questions that were on the list of lots of journalists. But again, because the investigation is still ongoing, I guess that's the reason why they didn't take questions yesterday. But I believe that in due time, when another briefing is done, the press will be given the opportunity to ask the basic questions that are on the lips of all Nigerians. But it will interest you to know that this current George Nwabueze also goes by the prefix of Prince and Honorable interchangeably for different times. So it's interesting that the first person who is linked to the first term is addressed as the Prince, and this second person also goes by Prince George Buchi Nwabueze. I think that's a link to also investigate and find out why princes are being involved in scams. And if they are legit princes, in fact, that is another question for another day.
Well, Professor Nnah, the question now is, if we're having all these theatrics happening in Nigeria, what would you say in terms of investment now? Yes, we know that we borrow a lot, but now that we're having such issues inside the institution that is supposed to be governing the country, how bad is it for us in terms of our economy and investment?
You see, the world today is a global village. So the world is watching Nigeria, watch their dirty leanings in public. What one expected is that the federal government should have come clean by trying these people in the open, showing that they are not culpable in any way, so that the international community will still relate with them. But as it stands today, they are shielding everything in secrecy. Look at the monologue yesterday. And like the lady there said, this second one is equally a prince. So we have princes of particular concern that are perpetuating evil, and the government is not doing anything. Government said sack PAMSEX. Then after that, what next? What are the offenses of this PAMSEC? Nobody is telling anybody. Who are involved? Nobody is telling anybody. I think that's not how things work in a same clan. In a same clan, yes, heads will roll, but we ought to know why these heads are rolling. You don't just sack people to cover up your tracks. No, it is not done, because that's what some of us feel now, because they are sacking people to cover their tracks. So let's get to the bottom of this. The nitty-gritty of the issue is that government have not come clean. That is it. And until they come clean, the international body, they're watching us. So who is going to invest in an economy where you have fake agencies? Nobody is going to. They risk these funds. The courts are not doing better. You have fake agencies. The National Assembly is not doing better. They are approving fake results to use in an election. So nothing is working here. So why do we think that a reasonable person will come and invest in this economy with everything fake? Fake agency, fake result, fake this, fake that. No, I think it's, some people need their heads examined in this administration, honestly.
Professor Nnah.
And that's why some people recommend that some of the people in politics should go for a mental health test before we recruit them. I think I support that now. Hook, sink, and liner.
Professor Nnah, they did say that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So I guess maybe you have something there. Bettina, have you heard anything about an audit of all the committees, all the councils, all the agencies, all the special projects? Do you think that there should be one? How far do you think this audit should go, Bettina?
As a matter of fact, Mazino, before I answer that question, let me just correct the notion that the permanent secretaries were sacked. They were not sacked. They were suspended as investigations proceed. But going back to your question, I do believe that there may be more than these two that have been discovered as fake agencies. And I'm sure that during the course of this ongoing forensic investigation, that maybe one or two or even more will still crop up. And I'm hoping that they bring it to the light of the public so that the country, Nigerians, are aware of what is going on. Now, in this case, it's the government. But we've seen in different cases where they have been fake employment, fake people on payrolls of different organizations that are not even federal organizations. So this issue of having fake agency and scams is a major and serious problem in Nigeria that we need to look into. But the height of it is finding it within the government system. That's where we have to say that, okay, these investigations need to be thorough and they need to be followed up appropriately. And also, questions that need to be asked need to be answered so that people don't have doubts on their mind. I don't think it's proper for a government to lead a nation where there is no trust. Mm-hmm. So the government has to make sure that this investigation is thorough, it is well put out, it is well, explained to the public so that at least some level of trust that is lacking already comes back into the system.
Well said. Well said.
Well, Bettina, thank you so much for that update. I know that you will follow up and we'll see what this investigation will give us. And Professor
Simeon Nnah.
I apologize for pronouncing it wrong earlier.
Can I put the word across?
Yes, go ahead real quick, sir.
Okay. Now, if you have followed this administration, you will discover that sack and suspension, they are just semantics. All the people that were suspended in the past, have they been brought back? No. Once you are suspended, you are sacked. Period.
So,
What?
Bettina, this is for you.
Bettina,
this is for you, 5 and 6.
Well, thank you so much for joining and having this conversation. In as much as we're laughing, just to make it lighter, is really a concerning and disturbing situation. At this point, I don't know if it's worse than insecurity in Nigeria, but we hope that all of this will come to an end. Thank you so much for joining to have this conversation.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Bettina.